The president is quite often very offensive, brash, says things that are outlandish. I relate a lot of those in the book. But, he's an extremely disruptive person. I saw it as my job, not to try to constrain him, but to help him disrupt what needed to be disrupted.
Would you work in the Trump White House again?
No.
I know it seems obvious that Trump's good at marketing, but awful with strategy and anything else. But just keep in mind how stupid this man actually is.
We had no ammunition. I took over. They came to me, sir, how are we doing militarily? We have a problem, sir. What is it? We have no ammunition. That's a lousy thing. You're running a country, we got enemies. And, if you have the smart president, you'll be able to do fine. But you don't want to tell your enemy you have no ammunition. I don't want to tell President Xi of China we don't have ammunition.
He's revealing the fact that we have no ammunition. This is the same person that will bring us to like a war if he gets us another term. Not that we need any help with that, given what's currently going on, but
I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way.
According to Esper, Trump said that we could just shoot some Patriot missiles and take out the labs quietly, adding that no one would know it was us.
In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true.
So let's take a look at some policy decisions that Trump made as commander-in-chief. And let's also look at what other military people had to say about him.
He didn't understand, because he didn't understand fundamentally much of anything about international affairs. His decisions were not based on a coherent philosophy or a coherent policy.
But we were safer.
They were erratic.
Safer. He kept world
under
leaders,
Donald Trump.
He kept world leaders.
He
on
signed
their,
a deal
on their
with
heels,
the Taliban.
Sir. He kept them on their back feet. They didn't know where he was coming from, and that made us safer. I mean, can you? He had President
and
Xi
he cut a deal with the Taliban to withdraw from Afghanistan.
He was a terrible leader when it came to foreign policy. He didn't have much sense to make smart decisions while he was in office. And that's saying nothing about his national policy.
I will also stop inflation by stopping the invasion, rapidly reducing housing costs. They're taking over our hotels. Think of it. You have people that come in illegally that don't speak the language. We don't even know the country. These are countries where we have nobody in our country that even understands the language. And they're living in luxury hotels in many cases.
That has nothing to do with inflation, housing costs, anything like that. He doesn't have a policy, okay? Their policy, MAGA's policy towards everything is, we'll just, southern border. Inflation, that's because of the southern border. Oh yeah, but should we just send these immigrants to different states that already have a built-in infrastructure for dealing with migrants? No, we're not going to do that. Send them to states with very poor infrastructure on dealing with migrants. But then deport them and all that. Yeah, that's the problem. Right.
By the way, isn't that breeze nice? Do you feel the breeze? Because I don't want anybody going on me. We need every voter. I don't care about you. I just want your vote. I don't care. See, now the press will take that and they'll say he said a horrible thing.
There's a lot of absolute nonsense with regards to Trump. Let's break down each one of them. So first of all, as they said, this is the no new wars. No new wars under Trump. No new wars. He didn't end the war in Afghanistan, didn't do anything to improve what was going on in Afghanistan. He actually said he was going to pull out, then he wanted to pull out rapidly, and he wanted to, do it, before the election, which the military said, hey, we can't do it in that short a time period. People will die. You have to pull out at this and and pull out slowly. Otherwise, 13 people died when Biden was pulling out. That's what happens when you're on the retreat. So yeah, no new wars. He didn't help with Afghanistan. He almost brought us to the brink of war with Iran. He basically killed their head of intelligence. He ordered that to be done. He pulled us out of the Iran nuclear deal. He, basically, he had a chance. He had a very good chance to have some type of relationship with North Korea. He bungled that. His own people said he bungled it because he absolutely refused to do any research on this. He thought he was just going to come in there and just art of the deal his way through, geopolitical stuff. I love it. He upped the drone strikes. I think did he do more drone strikes than Obama? Which, I mean, that's impressive. But they were able to change the policy so that they don't have to report on collateral damage. Under Obama, they had to report the collateral damage. Under Trump, they didn't have to report the collateral damage. So yeah, he bombed Syria a bunch, definitely drone striked a ton. And let me see, gave Putin basically whatever he wanted to, said Putin, do what you want. Never pushed back on Putin whatsoever. I think it's kind of laughable when people are like, oh, like all these world leaders are afraid of him, right? And also, let's just break down the logic. Let's break down this logic. There were no new wars under Trump, but everyone was afraid of Trump because there was no new wars. So if there's no new wars, then why would people be afraid of, right? Because this is the logic that goes on. Everyone's afraid of him, right? They're afraid of what he would do, which is no new wars. Okay. Yeah. And they pushed this to like everyone was just terrified of him. You will hear this a lot. If you go, Maga will talk about how October 7th never would have happened because Hamas apparently would have been like, no, not under Trump, right? As if they're more terrified of Trump than Netanyahu, who is a literal like monster, right? And yeah, and so on and so forth. As we've seen with Arlington National Cemetery, that to a lot of people that revere veterans in this nation, that is, hallowed ground, right? That is a very, that place there's a lot of reverence that people rightfully associate with that. And he used that as a photo op in a way that the people running Arlington National Cemetery were like, no, you cannot, this is not what this is for. You cannot do that. This is off limits. The big woke groundskeepers of Arlington National Cemetery, who supposedly they also hate Trump too, of course, right? The whole MAGA movement, there's like a small percentage of the MAGA movement, the Republican Party, that they don't want. They're kind of maybe isolationist, but they're sort of true isolationists, and that they don't want. They just want to shore up and not be, doing this forever war nonsense. And you know what? Hats off. I salute you. However, most of them are just lying. Trump is lying. They're lying. They still want to support Israel. They still want to send money to Israel. They just don't. They want to basically take money from Ukraine and send it to Israel. They want when I press them on all of these issues, they're still like want to be interventionist in a lot of these areas. However, they look at it as some romanticized thing, as if it's just going to be a SEAL Team 6 mission. They're like, well, Biden's doing these all drawn out wars. With Trump, it would be a SEAL Team 6 mission. He would send in the military elite, and they would just do. None of that makes sense. Like that's not how. That's so like it's just the level of unreality. Whew. But they all say this. This is very common. I've asked this question again and again and again, and I get the same response. And you're seeing more and more people, as in the last election, that have never voted Democrat. They are registered Republicans. They are diehard Republicans, and they're like, I'm good. I'm done. I don't no, I don't need this. That's happening a lot more, and I mean, good. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that, and it's not because he was, they're like this. Thank you. Like, thankfully, these people are waking up and going, this is not like the Republican Party I joined into. The Republican Party of, small government and low taxes and, do what you want beyond that. Just, low taxes and, and they look at this and they're like, this is fascism. And thankfully, these are Republicans that, admirably, they would benefit under a second term of Trump. Like there's a lot of values that, a lot of things that would get passed that they were like, that vibes, like maybe they want a total abortion ban. Maybe they want, forced prayer in schools and all that stuff. However, they're foregoing all of that for the sake of democracy, which, hats off. My only problem is I just don't want that to be the mandate post-election. When Kamala wins, I don't want the mandate to be all the, Republicans that flipped. But, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead. Whew. How are those polls looking? Are we doing okay? Are we is Kamala beyond the margin of error? Just asking.